Hey guys, so this week I've been playing a game which kind of sailed under everyone's radar last year. There's a ton of great games in 2010, so it's easy to miss one, or two, or a couple even. But this game in particular, which is Singularity, for some reason not a lot of people actually picked up or cared about it. It did pretty well in the review scores, so I don't know why more people didn't pick it up. But Singularity, it came out for Xbox, PS3, and even PC. Basically, the story is, it involves time travel. Kind of, you're on this like old Russian military base on an island, and you sort of like accidentally change time, and things are, you know, all timey and stuff. And it kind of reminds me of some other games that you've probably heard of. But anyways, you don't hear me jabber about it. You'd rather hear me, well, jabber about it. So I guess that's kind of... Anyways, here's my opinion of Singularity.
The story for Singularity takes place on an old Soviet military base off the coast of Russia somewhere. The government got some weird readings from it, so they sent you and some other guy to go check it out. And, in typical video game fashion, there's a big flash of light and then you crash land on the island. You find out that the Russians were experimenting with this weird element called E99, which had some really strange properties. In the course of exploring this giant empty base, this weird wave hits you and then suddenly everything's on fire. You save some dude's life and then you zap back to where you were before, but things are a little different now. Basically, you went back in time, you saved this dude who turns out to be a real evil bastard who became a dictator and eventually took over the world. Congratulations! You screwed up history, and now crazy mutants are walking everywhere. This is the basic story of Singularity, and now it's your job to basically try and fix everything, if you can. Along with the standard sort of shotguns and assault rifles that you would expect in a first-person shooter, you also get the TMD, Time Manipulation Device. It has a few basic functions, and as you go throughout the game, it gets more functions. With it, you can pick up and move objects like a gravity gun, but you can also manipulate the age of certain objects, so you can make a crate, you know, all old and crumpled, or you can take a crumpled old crate and make it brand new again. Hell, you can even take a perfectly good Russian soldier and turn him into dust. This is where the game really tries to stand out from others. It takes a lot of cues from like Half-Life 2 and BioShock, but expands upon them and does something a little original. Not only is the TMD great in combat, but it also helps you solve a lot of physics puzzles like you would expect from like a Half-Life 2. Although the time manipulation stuff doesn't get like super complex like that indie game Braid, it's really simple stuff. It's still really interesting though. I mean, just imagine the possibilities if you could just go back and forth through time. I know there's a lot of things I would do differently. So there you have it. APB is actually kind of a really interesting game when you come to... Whoa! Hey, stop. Okay. Wait, what? You were about to give APB like an okay score? You were about to suggest... I played a lot with my friends.
I'm here to stop you.
Well, I mean, good is a relative term.
Yeah,
but if I had...
I mean, it's not like my opinion is going to influence anyone. I'm sorry. I can't take that chance.
The enemies that you have to fight are actually very diverse. You have your standard, like, Russian soldier guy, which you just, you know, mow down like he's nothing. But then there's a lot of, like, people and animals that have been mutated by the E99. At first, they're just kind of like these really strong zombie-type creature things, but then you keep going back in time and trying to change things for the better and screwing things up, and they get more powerful, they can teleport and all kinds of crazy stuff. There's even a number of boss battles in the game that are actually quite fun and can be challenging, and they're all very different. And what's really interesting about all the mutant guys that you play is that they are multiplayer characters. In the multiplayer, it's humans versus the mutants, so one team's the mutants and one team's the humans. So it's not just like normal capture the flag type stuff, it puts this really interesting dynamic in it and adds all the elements from the game into the multiplayer. In terms of the story, it's really interesting. It takes a lot of its story cues from BioShock. Unlike BioShock, the story is entirely linear throughout the entirety of the game until you get to the end, and then you get to make your, you know, good, evil, neutral choices, which are actually really interesting. And it does a really great job of sort of telling this, you know, time travel type thing where you keep going back and changing things, but things keep getting worse or not changing at all. Overall, I have to say, it's a really, really interesting game that I'm surprised more people didn't pick up. It borrows a lot of elements from other games, but mixes them in this really crazy manner that makes them really fun and unique. If you're a fan of the shooters like BioShock or Doom or Half-Life, I have to say that this is definitely a must-play.
So there you have it. Singularity is actually a really fun game. I'm surprised, more people didn't pick it up when it first came out. It's got really interesting mechanics. It's sort of like like Bioshock. It reminds me a lot of Bioshock, but it's got some Half-Life stuff. The whole sort of time manipulation thing's kind of like Gravity Gun-esque, but slightly original. I don't know why some people even panned it. They're like, oh, well, it's not original. I thought it was really, really interesting. The story was great. It was just, the multiplayer is actually, it's nice. It's not just capture the flag, overall, I think it's a really fun game that you will not be disappointed if you pick it up.